Welcome to Mind Body Monday, and I'm excited to have you all here today. You're probably going to be reviewing this on the replay, and feel free to leave comments as you go along. I'm excited on this week's Mind Body Monday because there's two topics that are really close to my heart that I want to share with you. By the way, if this is your first Mind Body Monday, my name is Avraham Gundel, and I encourage you to take a look at the first Mind Body Monday because I lay out the structure and the purpose and the mission of Mind Body Monday, and most importantly, what's in it for you. I've been in private practice for over 30 years as an osteopath and naturopath, founder and director for the Center for Integrated Medicine. So I invite you to learn along with me in this Mind Body Monday training. The first topic we're going to look at is my favorite breathing technique to calm the mind, relax the body, to advance healing and well-being. And the second is a food or diet nutritional concept, not really concept, but application that will really advance your health and well-being, increase your energy and your well-being, and decrease pain, inflammation, and prevent accelerated aging. This is very important in my practice. I'm always looking for leveraged strategies. Leveraged strategies where I can put in 20% effort and get 80% result. And this is one of them. So after the breathing meditation technique I'm going to share with you, the breakthrough in some health tips for you. Okay, so this technique is called the harmony breath. The harmony breath is really the quickest way I know, one of the quickest ways I know, to calm the mind, relax the body, and get the mind and the body in sync to advance healing and well-being. When I'm feeling overwhelmed or stressed, then I would do 1 or 2 or even 3 rounds of this, and it will really settle me, ground me, and it brings more oxygen into the mind, into the brain, into the bloodstream, and down regulates the sympathetic nervous system, which is the fight and flight response, and up regulates, turns up the dial on the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the healing relaxation response, where acceleration of healing occurs in the body. So I'm going to guide you. I'm going to first explain this technique. Then if you are not driving when you're watching this replay, then do it along with me. Otherwise, just press pause and come back and watch this when you can. So the breathing in 4s goes like this. The first stage is to breathe out through pursed lips. We do pursed lips to put a little bit of back pressure on the lungs, and that way it helps to balance the gaseous exchange in our lungs between carbon dioxide and oxygen. So once we empty the lungs completely, then we breathe in through the nose for the count of 4. And I'll count up to 4. Then you hold your breath for the count of 4. And that helps your body to absorb all the oxygen from your breath. Then you breathe out for the count of 4. And then you hold your breath for the count of 4. So I call this the harmony breath because that's the experience that I have with it. Some people call it box breathing because as you watch me with my hand, or you're listening, I'm drawing a square in the air. So you breathe out first to prepare for it. Then you breathe in for the count of 4, hold for the count of 4, breathe out for the count of 4, and then hold for the count of 4. And that is one cycle. Once you've done that one cycle, then you can do 2 or 3 if you want. Sometimes before bed or waking up in the morning, I do 3 or 4 of these cycles. This sets me up all for a deep sleep, restorative sleep, or gets me focused and energized in the morning. It's quite wonderful and flexible in that way. So let's have one practice round. So sitting up in your chair, and for those of you who can't manage 4, breathing in for 4 or breathing out for 4, do what's comfortable. Don't strain yourself in any way, and just treat this as an experiment. And as you improve, your lung capacity will improve, and everything about your focus and well-being will improve. By the way, when you first start doing this, don't do it when you're standing up. Do it when you're sitting in a stable position. Not recommended if you're driving at all, because as more oxygen comes into your brain, you may feel a little bit lightheaded or a little bit dizzy, and this is totally normal and totally okay. So if you're sitting down, then you'll just be more confident and comfortable in that position. Okay, so let's begin together. So breathing out. I'll count now. Breathing in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathing out through pursed lips. 1, 2, 3, 4. And hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Just breathe normally now. Let's get a sense. Did you manage that? How was it for you? Did you feel lightheaded? Was 4 too long? Too short? Was my counting right for you? Let's do another round. We're going to do 2 rounds this time. I'm going to be counting and directing you through it as we go along. So in your own time, breathing out. Now breathing in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath, but drop your shoulders down. 2, 3, 4. Breathing out through pursed lips. 1, 2, 3. Squeezing all the air out. 4. Hold your breath. 1, 2, 3, 4. And breathing in. One more round. Breathing in for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath. Drop your shoulders. 1, 2, 3, 4. Last round. Breathing out. You pursed lips. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold your breath now. 1, 2, 3, 4. Breathe normally. Well done. Well done. I'm curious. What did you notice? Were you lightheaded at all? Was 4 too easy? Was the in-breath easier than the out-breath? Just curious what you noticed. Now, I'm going to invite you just to do 2 rounds on your own. I'm going to be joining you. I'm not going to be counting. You'll count silently in your head. Just normally when I teach large groups with this harmony breath, when I get to 4 on the in-breath, most people's shoulders are up here. That's why I say when you get to the end of your first in-breath, just drop your shoulders down, but still hold your breath. Okay, let's do this together. I'm not counting. You'll count silently for yourself in your mind. Let's go. Breathing out and beginning. Hold. Breathing out. Hold. Breathing in. Hold. Breathing out. Squeeze the air out. Hold. And breathe normally. Open your eyes if you haven't already. And just notice what you feel in your body, in your mind. Has something shifted? Just yesterday, I got a call from a patient of mine who I'm working with, suffering from panic attacks. And they reached out to me in the car because traveling in cars triggers some panic attacks for various reasons. And I guided them through this process with an additional tweak that I hope to share with you next Mind Body Monday. But even this alone, we did this for 10 minutes, breathing in for 4s, guiding this person through the 4s. At the end of the 10 minutes, the panic attack moved from 3.5, 4 out of 5 intensity down to a 1. So this is very powerful medicine because it moves more oxygen into the brain, settles down the sympathetic fight and flight response, upregulates the parasympathetic nervous system, which is the healing in the body, and you're able to get your calm and composure back. And I've listed here some additional benefits from this harmony breath. So it helps you to sleep when you are having insomnia. I mentioned it helps with panic and stress or feeling overwhelmed. Helps to control hyperventilation as the lungs enter into rhythmic breathing pattern. Helps you refocus if you're having a busy or stressful day, and eases panic and worry. So I invite you to play with the harmony breathing through the week, and I'll be curious to hear how you get along. Wonderful. So if you haven't already, take a nice sip of water. We're going to now segue into a whole different area, and I'm going to keep this very complex and broad and deep topic very, very simple with some key practical take home. So the 80-20 strategy here, that one of the biggest causes of inflammation in the body, and inflammation means advanced, accelerated old age, pain, disease, inflammation, across the board, every system in the body breaking down prematurely is a result of uncontrolled inflammation. And one of the biggest causes is bad quality, poor quality, rancid fats and oils. This is a very important subject, and I've been studying it for many, many years, as it's a key point in helping people to reverse illness, disease, etc. in inflammation. And I particularly focus on it. Anyone who has pain or inflammation, autoimmune disease, cancers, cardiovascular, diabetes issues, it's so important to get the oils right. And in this Monday, Mind Body Monday, I know in the world over, tonight begins the Festival of Lights, the Festival of Hanukkah. And I don't want to put a damper on anyone's spirits, but I want to just shine a light onto the benefits of how to use oils in a good, wholesome way as well. So it's two main families of omega-3s, of omegas really. There's the omega-3 and the omega-6. I'm sure some of you have heard, most of you have heard of omega-3, as in fish oil, let's say, omega-6. And essentially, the omega-3s are healing oils. They are anti-inflammatory. And essentially, the omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. And I'm speaking in general terms, because in general, it's true, but specifically, it may play out slightly differently. And in our diet of yesteryear, there was a much higher ratio of omega-3 to omega-6, which is good. But because of the influx of processed oils, processed foods, fast foods, and convenience foods, the ratio has shifted to a very unhealthy balance of omega-6, much, much higher than an omega-3. And this has resulted in tremendous upsurge of inflammatory conditions in the body. And a quick way to address that is to address the ratio between the omega-3 and the omega-6. Now, before I dive into that, let's just have a look at what are these oils. Firstly, essential fatty acids, as this family of omega-3 and omega-6 is really called, are essential because the body can't make them, and we need to get them from sources outside of the body. They are called fatty because they are fat molecules, and they're called acids because they have an acid attached in chemical terms to the fat molecule. That's just a technical thing. Now, what's interesting here is that these essential fatty acids are very, very important for our health. They, in healthy forms, they make up the building blocks of every cell in our body, and they make up the building blocks of every organelle, most organelles within every cell of the body. So the nucleus material inside our cell has to be protected by a cell wall, and that cell wall is a lipid barrier, and that lipid is a fat barrier, and that is made up from healthy fats that we're going to eat. So if a person is having the wrong ratio or wrong oils, deep fried oils or rancid oils, and we're going to get into that shortly, then the cell membrane is in jeopardy. And that means not only will the cell suffer, but every cell in the body will suffer, and also can damage genetic material. And that's where autoimmune diseases or cancers can begin to take greater foothold in the body. So it's so important to keep that membrane strong and healthy, which keeps everything else about the body strong and healthy. So what are good sources of omega-3? So most people generally know about omega-3 fatty acids through fish oil, and that's true through fish like salmon and mackerel and herring and trout, sardines, and anchovies and tuna. These are all good sources of omega-3. However, I have a lot of patients that say, look, I don't want the fish oils. There's a discussion about heavy metal toxicity, mercury, etc. It's farm raised with, that has a whole other level of complication. So the vegetarian vegan population likes to use, if they do, a omega-3 derived from sea, algae, hemp seeds, chia seeds, flax seeds, walnuts, and also edamame are good sources of omega-3s. Now, the omega-3s are in general very, very healthy, and it's important to include them in your diet. However, if a person is taking omega-3s from a plant-derived source, it's important to know something very important, that the body must convert those plant-derived omega-3s into a form that the body can actually utilize. And that requires a specific enzyme, and that requires a number of vitamins and minerals for that enzyme conversion to happen. So what that means is some people don't have that enzyme, some people don't have that enzyme working efficiently, and some people don't have those micronutrients in the ratios needed to make that conversion. So even when the body does do it properly, there is a very small percentage that's actually converted across. So that means you'd have to have a lot more of the vegan, vegetarian forms of omega-3, as I mentioned, the seaweed forms, the algae, the chia, the hemp, the flax seeds, walnuts, and edamame, to compensate for the poor conversion happening. It will still happen, but for those people who can do it. Personally, in my practice, if patients don't have an issue with taking omega-3 from fish, I source for them a high quality, heavy metal free omega-3 form of fish oil, where the DHA and EPA ratios are very high, and the body can use that very well, incorporate it for energy sources, for cell repair, cell healing, and that's my first go-to. But working with a broad population over the last 30 years, it's important to have different options and to explain to patients how they can get all the benefits and just compensate for quantities or making sure they have the nutrients for that enzyme to work. Okay, so let's talk a little, that was omega-3. Let's talk about omega-6s for a moment. So omega-6s in general are far too high in a Western diet. So any fast food, processed food will always have these omega-6s in it to a higher amounts. And these typical sources are soya beans, soya oil, corn oil, safflower or sunflower oil, and nuts and seeds also have omega-6s in them as well. However, the challenge with omega-6s is in a lot of the convenient cooking oils, like canola oil, which I'll get to shortly, are higher in omega-6 but have been processed and treated in order to extend their shelf life for convenience. And at the same time, they don't contribute to, not only do they don't contribute to health and healing in the body, they actually can cause inflammation, and you'll see why now. I mentioned to you, essential fatty acids are basically a chemical bond with a fat and an acid, and these bonds in the omega, these what's called polyunsaturated fats. I don't want to get too technical with you, but these are very weak bonds. What that means is if the oil is exposed to light, heat, and oxygen, then they become rancid very quickly. So light, heat, and oxygen causes these omega-3s and omega-6s particularly to become rancid. Hence, they're processed at a factory level to extend their shelf life, which makes them very, very unhealthy for consumption. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. Actually, just before I got onto the Mind Body Monday, we didn't have any canola oil in our house. So I went over to a neighbor to borrow their canola oil. Now this says in Hebrew canola, shemen canola, which is canola oil, and it says muzukach. And this is what you need to look for. And in English or Hebrew, it means purified, which sounds all nice. You know, you want purified, pure oil, but this is not what you want to be imbibing on a regular basis at all. This oil has a very, very long shelf life. I can't see the expiration date here, but the key piece is that you want to avoid this oil. It's in a light bottle, a transparent bottle, so it means light will damage the oil further, and it's been processed. So this is not what you want to be having in your diet at all, because it's very, very high in what's called free radicals. Free radicals damage the cell wall and damage DNA in the body, which can cause disease. So it's very important to have pure, to have cold pressed oils, and this is already segueing into part of a solution, is you want to be looking for cold pressed oils. And I'll give you an example of a cold pressed oil that we use in our home. This is an olive oil, and it says this is cold pressed, and in Hebrew it says kfisha kara, which means cold pressed. That's what you want. And you want to get an expiration date as far off as possible, which means it's relatively recently pressed. That's what you want. You'll also notice this bottle is a dark bottle and a glass bottle. So this is protected from light, and you want to keep it in a cool place. It's protected from heat. And you want to keep the lid on, so it's less oxygen going on in here. So this is what you want to be having, more of a cold pressed oil. By the way, if you want to use a spray on your food or on your pastries or in a wok even, then you can get a spray form of a cold pressed olive oil. So this, you just take this lid off, and this is closed. Oops, there you go. Just take this lid off. You spray this in your pan, and then you've got some you've got a cold pressed oil, and I'm going to discuss with you shortly how to use this consciously. By the way, just as a way of comparison, this is oil specifically for the purpose of lighting candles for sacramental use, and it says on here not to be consumed. It's not for consumption. Now, these oils are even more processed and more refined than these oils. Holding up the canola oil. The canola oil is highly refined, but not as highly refined as this, because this candle oil is not made for consumption, and it's actually positively dangerous to use in one's diet. Okay, so we've had a little bit of a look at the dangers of oils, and segueing a little bit into how to become a conscious consumer. So you want to be looking at unprocessed oils, cold pressed oils, and in a glass bottle preferably, and a dark glass bottle preferably. So I just want to go back to this concept of the ratios. Even though with the standard Western diet, the ratio of the omega-6 has gone very, very high, and that omega-6 causes a lot of inflammation in the body and actively encourages disease processes like cardiovascular diseases, diabetes, cancers, autoimmune diseases, thyroid conditions. So if any of you are suffering from any pain or inflammation in your body, you're really encouraged, and I'll mention this to my patient, to really reduce, eliminate best any refined and processed oils. And really it takes a discerning shopper, because one really has to look at everything, even mayonnaise, there's cottonseed oil there, or canola oil in there, and these are all highly refined oils. So again, if one's exposed to them, very seldom, that's not the issue. But if it's a day in, day out process over months and years, this is where it could become to erode the vitality and health of the body because it breaks down the integrity of the cell wall. And when that happens, then the body is exposed to disease states. So a healthy ratio, you want to be looking for at least 4 times omega-3 to 1 time omega-6. What this means is, if you are having any omega-6s in your diet, and I mentioned that is really through the refined oils like canola oil or cottonseed oil or soy oil, which really should be avoided limited as much as possible, then compensate with healthier oils, either the omega-3 from fish oils or the vegetarian vegan equivalent from hemp seeds or flax seeds or chia seeds, etc. And we want at least 4 times that amount against the omega-6s. Now, just parenthetically, I open up with saying, in general, omega-3s are anti-inflammatory, and in general, omega-6s are pro-inflammatory. And that's all true. However, I read an interesting research article in PubMed, which the researchers looked at various health conditions. They looked at cardiovascular disease, breast cancer, and colorectal cancer. And with these patients, they fed them diets with different ratios. So it's not so easy to say, 4-to-1 ratio of omega-3 to omega-6 is the way to go, because they found different diseases healed and responded to different ratios. But in general, if you're going to look to increase omega-3 and reduce omega-6, you will be better off in general. And obviously read labels to avoid having too much processed oils at all. So let's just look at some, just before I segue into looking at some of the other oil options, a practical way to determine if you have inflammation going on in your body. Number one is, how's your gums? If you rub your finger inside your gums, or you floss, or you brush, and your gums bleed easily, the gums are a real predictor of health in the body, not only oral health, but health in the body in general. So for sure, you want to increase your oral hygiene as best as possible. There are many strategies to do that. But it's important to recognize if there's inflammation, your gums bleed easily, that's a sign of inflammation in the body. If there's any pain or stiffness, joint stiffness, or an active disease process in your body, then obviously that's a sign of inflammation, and you want to address that, at least from an oil perspective, because there are many facets to this discussion, but at least turn off the inflammation through not having any of this in your diet at all. Canola oil or soybean oil or any of the sunflower oils that are processed, that is cold pressed oils, is the way to go. Another quick way to check what your inflammatory situation is like in your body is to have a blood test. And I send my patients off for an ESR or a CRP, as when I do a battery of inflammatory, these are just 2 of many to check. And these are predictive of inflammatory processes inside the body. And your healthcare provider will be able to guide you in that way in terms of how to interpret the results. So a lot of patients say to me, so listen, Avram, what do we do about making, chips and fried foods and deep fried foods, and what are baked cakes worth and all that? So I wish I had an easy, quick answer, but if they're really ill, then I do have an easy answer. And that is really just to limit as much as possible, avoid even better. Your healing will be exponentially improved with getting rid of these poor quality oils that are very much inflammatory. Otherwise, for things like a stir fry, if you got your wok or your pan, you can make a stir fry. Here's a quick tip that in China, if you watch how the chefs make a stir fry, what they do is they don't add in first the oil. They add first the water. And that heats up the wok, gets everything prepared. Then some will add a little bit of either coconut oil, or if a person can, butter, which are saturated fats, which are much more stable. Coconut oil is much more stable than olive oil. And then they would add the vegetables. Now, the water does two things. It prevents the oil from heating too high, because it gets too high, it releases what's called aldehydes that we can inhale. And if that happens, it damages lung tissue and creates free radicals in the body, but also protects the oil from becoming more rancid by overheating. So they're really onto something. Another form of cooking is to throw the water in first and then your vegetables, and then top that off with a little bit of oil for flavoring, etc. Again, my preference, what we do at home, is I personally put in some coconut oil in my wok, then I add in my herbs and my spices, then I add in my vegetables, and carefully I put a little bit of water in there to help it steam in a way as well and get a nice cook and flavor that way. So for those of you who can use butter, then do so. If you can't, then coconut oil. And if you don't like that taste of coconut oil, by the way, there's a lot of healing properties within coconut oil that provides what's called MCTs, which are medium chain fatty acids, and these are very good for energy and for brain and for focus. Wonderful things there in coconut oil. And if you can't use that, then a little bit of olive oil after the water. And carefully, if you're obviously having oil and water over the fire, you want to be careful about that. And then add in your vegetables third or second after your oil. Okay, so I showed you some of my oils. By the way, this is an oil that one of my patients recommended. And I'm not for or against this company or any of these companies. I just want people to become educated in how to make the best decisions to advance their healthcare. Now, this looks great. They've done a great job in their marketing, got a nice avocado. This is avocado oil here, rich, smooth flavor, non-GMO, by the way, that's an important thing. The sunflower or the canola oils are GMO. It's a different discussion. You want to avoid GMOs as much as possible. It's also vegan, which is great. But if you turn over and you read the fine print, and I actually called the company, the importer, to ask and clarify, it says contents 100% avocado oil, merzukat, which in English means refined. This is not a cold pressed oil. So it does not satisfy my requirement of having a cold pressed oil. So the best thing, again, is use sparingly or preferably not at all. Go back to a cold press virgin olive oil or a olive oil spray with no gases in here that are harmful. And those are some of the strategies here. So you've seen my oils, and what I'm sharing with you is not convenient, okay? And I recognize that, and I wish I had an easy answer for baking and cooking without these really refined processed oils. I would say just limit one's exposure to them. And if one is, strong and healthy, then if you want to have these foods, have them, but they should be on the low exposure list. And the more unhealthy one is, the more challenged one's health is, then the tolerance for these things should become lower and lower. So let's just summarize some of the key takeaways. We started off with the breathing in fours. And the breathing in fours is the quickest way, I believe, to really shunt oxygen into your brain, calm your body, calm your mind, balance overwhelm and stress. And it's a wonderful practice to do to 2 bookends of your day. Before I go to sleep, I do it waking up in the morning, and that way I can greet my day with some healthy breathing to calm, settle my mind and to focus. I spoke about limiting processed oils and to become a discerning shopper, to look on the labels to avoid processed oils, heated oils. Oils should be in dark green bottles and cold pressed wherever possible. Limit or avoid preferably deep frying, as the heat and the aldehydes create more problems for the body. The aldehydes for the lungs, they're toxic vapors, and the heat breaks down the weak bonds in the oil, which creates free radicals that damages cells in the body. I spoke about stir frying. My best way to do it is to really add the water first, maybe then the vegetables, and then some of the oil, or if you want to use coconut oil, that's really the best way to go. Now, just as a close, If you have had a high exposure to poor quality oils, then your next step to help heal your body is simply to reduce that exposure, but drink more water, and specifically lemon water. Lemon is used frequently in detergents and cleaning agents because it cuts through oils, and just having in the morning a full glass, 6 to 8 ounce glass of fresh water with half a lemon squeezed into that will help ease the liver, the gallbladder, the common bile duct, the digestive system, and get your body going again. Hope this has been helpful, and I want to announce a winner, by the way, from last week. Last week, there was a challenge to do the to drink more water in last week's Mind Body Monday, to chew one's food more thoroughly, and for those of you who did the check-in, so a Mrs. Reiser okay, I won't say too much, but a Mrs. Reiser got my meditation, my new meditation, which really balances the parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous system. So that was in her inbox sent last week. And my challenge to you all, so well done to you, Mrs. Reiser, for playing along in the chat. You got that in your inbox. And I want to end with a challenge for all of you for the week, is to begin to read labels on your oils and to reduce your processed oils. And if you are having any fried fatty foods, just to be conscious of not overdoing it, and to have some lemon water to get you going. So the challenge for this week is choosing one thing, either reducing your oils or just notice the processed oils in your diet, or drinking more lemon water. You can choose one of those three. Okay, thank you once again for showing up for Mind Body Monday. I look forward to seeing you next week, where we're going to discuss another tweak, a breathing exercise, and another new 80-20 leverage technique to advance your health and well-being. See you next week.